it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
So far in the iRacing.com World Championship Series, it has been all about two drivers, Hugo Luis and Gregor Hutu. Both drivers have won 2 races so far. Both drivers have also scored a 2nd place and a 3rd place finish, and they walked out 2 weeks ago of Road America equal in the championship standings. Today, they do battle at Phillip Island, the fastest track we are going to see all season long. And it's a track that Gregor Hutu has never yet won at. In fact, it's one of the few tracks that he's never had the chance to walk into victory lane in the entirety of the World Championship Series. So today, Hugo Luis starts with the psychological edge, but can he transform a good qualifying into good race pace? Or will Gregor Hutu, starting from pole position, be able to finally get that elusive victory? A couple of drivers also on the proverbial naughty step, as Pablo Lopez has been suspended from today's race, and Rico Adatalo has lost his World Championship Series license for the time being and will have to regain it. On the track where high emotions will always come into play, will more drivers fall foul of the rules, or will we have ourselves a nice clean race here today? We're going to find out over the course of the next hour and a half. Hello again everyone, Will, Vincent, Dan Blake and Bon Rothberg here for the 5th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Series here on Glacier TV. This is a Glacier TV pre-race show. We're going to get right underway by taking a look at this track that we like to call Phillip Island. First opened in 1956, the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit is a motor racing venue set in Phillip Island, Victoria, Australia. Now, motor racing had been going on in Australia for a number of years before that, and on the island itself since 1928. The new track, however, was fast, blistering fast corners, some long straightaways, add to that some blind apexes and some steep undulation changes, and you got a venue that the drivers loved coming to. Now, over years, it's hosted the V8 supercars, as well as MotoGP, some lower tier single-seater racing, and also GT racing as well. And the drivers have kept on saying that it's a track that really tests them mentally and physically. The lap record, that is set by Simon Willis in 2000, a time of 1 minute 24.221. And as we start to have a look at the racetrack now, coming down the very, very fast start-finish straight, and you'll be doing speeds of up to 190 miles an hour in some cars before you approach turn number 1. In some cars this is flat out, other cars it's not. Pit exit literally comes right onto the apex of the racetrack here. The fast pit exit at fast turn 1 really can make things scary for the drivers. Turn number 2, you do not want to go wide here. The track kind of falls away. It's very difficult to get back on if you go off track. You cannot take the corner in 2 stages, and make sure you don't run too wide on exit, so you can get a good run down this short mini backstretch, which includes turn 3, which is pretty much as flat out. You need to get a good run through here then get your braking point right as you come down into turn 4, the Honda corner. Slowest corner on the racetrack. Braking is so critical here. You've got to get a good entry, get nicely on the power for a short run now up into turns 5, 6 and 7. First part of this is an uphill left-hander. You can actually get on the power a lot earlier than you think you can, but don't run too wide, otherwise it will hurt your balance all the way through this fast section of the racetrack. And as you see now, the car working itself down into turn number 8. That's just a right-hand kink. And then you've really got to set yourself up here for Lukey Heights, turn number 9. It's a double apex left-hander. It goes uphill, and then all of a sudden it comes really quickly downhill into turns 10 and 11. The second slowest corner on the racetrack, turn number 10. Do not run wide. It's so slippery offline here. And then turn number 11, you want to put the power down early. You've got to be careful. Don't do it too early. The car will want to spin. Not a lot of grip down here. Then you flat out all the way through turn number 12. You'll come past the start finish time and then think about doing yet another brutal, grueling lap at this racetrack. The drivers after this race, they are going to be physically drained with high G-forces, high loads, and this is one track where you really can never, ever take your eyes off the road. I have been Will Vincent, and this has been Phillip Island. Welcome back to the GlacierTV pre-race show here from Phillip Island. Will Vincent, Dan Blake, Ben Rothberg and Paul Jenkins here. And Ben, I'm going to come to you first. You alluded to it before we went on air. Gregor Hutu has never won at this racetrack. However, today, he's starting this race from pole position.
I'm pretty amazed by that. Like, knowing that Gregor's won so many championships and he's been so dominant in this series, that he hasn't won at this track. Yes, it is a hard circuit, but it's probably one of the easiest for the drivers. I think that Phillip Island's it's pretty straightforward. You've got a long break down the main straight, and you've got long sweeping corners. I think compared to Spa and some of the other circuits he's won at, it's probably one he should write down in his books.
It is, but you know, you always see over the course of history that there's always that one track that drivers are perhaps better at than other places, but there's also that one kind of dummy track, the track that they never get, and it always seems to have been this for Hutu. However, you know, he is starting from pole position here today. The important thing though, pole position isn't necessarily worth as much here compared to some other racetracks.
That draft down the main straight, it's going to throw anyone's race in the air, really. Like, Greg could be starting on pole, but whoever's in second could be past them by the next lap. It's just the way this track works. Everyone's going to be drafting everyone. Teams are going to be working together, so I'm looking forward to seeing a good race.
Meanwhile, when we have a look at this racetrack, Paul, it's, you know, it really is that fast. And you're taking turn 1 at about 190 miles an hour. You don't lift off the gas at all. But then you've got yourself up for a double apex left hand for turn number 2. At the start of this race, it really is going to make things difficult for the drivers.
It really will. Charging down Gardner Straight and getting into Dewan Corner, that right-hander, it's you can take it flat out, but side by side is extremely scary. You know, the speed you get into that corner is just, I don't know, what's the word for it? Insane? Yes, insane. And then, of course, it dumps you right into Southern Loop. And again, that double apex left-hander. And that's the first place we're going to see trouble. But beyond that, you come spilling out of there into that turn 3 kink in the Hana corner, which is really that 180 degree kink there. And I think that's where we're going to find a lot of our problems. You come charging down there and you get that heavy braking zone, and we're going to see a lot of people overshooting that. Luckily, there's a place to escape, you know, down the Hana corner. But if you get that braking wrong at all, you can really get a good pileup going there.
And to have a look very quickly at the championship standings, we've alluded to it already. Gregor Hutu, Hugo Louise are tied on points right now. 175 points for those two drivers. So Team Redline, Team My3D Gaming, once again at the top of the standings. They both have 2 wins. They both have a 2nd place. They both had a 3rd place finish. Antti Kirchhoff is leading the charge for the other drivers. He's got these 32 points behind championship leaders, and he's really showing he has good speed and consistency this season. Jake Sturgis in 4th. Martin Conke ran out your top 5. The rest of the top 10 up on your screen momentarily. And I'm going to bring in Dan Blake very quickly into this. Today, I mean, I said for the last 2 races that it will determine the season. Today, it's more about a psychological warfare, I think, between Hugo Louis and Gregor Houtu. Louis has won at this track before. Houtu hasn't, and Louis will know that coming into the start of this race.
Yeah, he will. I think also there's some outsiders we've got to look at. Antti Kirchhoff and also the Porsche Super Cup driver Richie Stanaway also making an appearance today. But as you said, Gregor Houtu not winning at this track is a psychological thing. He'll want to beat that. Then Hugo Louis will try and all he can to make sure that bugbear still stays on Houtu's shoulders.
And we'll get confirmation about this in a moment, Ben, but we saw a very bad qualifying there by Luke McLean. And he might not even have qualified to get into this race. I'm having a look down now.
He actually has missed it, unfortunately for Luke, his home race.
And that is going to be shocking. We were having a look in qualifying, and he was way off the pace on his only timed lap. And 43 drivers attempted to qualify here today. 35 drivers got the chance to race here. That's going to be heartbreaking for the hometown hero, Luke McLean.
These guys only get one lap at hitting this qualifying lap, and if they don't hit it perfect, they miss out. And this is how tight the competition here is in iRacing. And unfortunately, yes, it is his home event, but maybe the pressure just got to him that he's just got to perform for those Aussies. There's not a lot of them in there in the World Championship Series, but I don't know, it's a bit unfortunate.
But still, you've got Ben Cornett and Richie Stanaway. They'll be leading the charge for the Australians in this race down under. And of course, Richie Stanaway is of course a New Zealand driver. We'll get that point out of the way now. But Paul, we'll come back to you very quickly. One thing that we never talk about at this racetrack, but is so treacherous, is pit road. You come out of pit road, you're flat out onto the apex of turn number 1, whilst you've got a car going through the apex of turn number 1. So you really have got to have good harmony with your spotters, with your crew team, to make sure that you actually find that gap to get back out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, you and I think of the same thing watching these guys come blasting off the pit road there. You've got the little narrow access road. The access road really is not much wider than an F1 car. And by the time you get to the end of that, you are pretty much up into maybe 5th gear. Really, you come flying through there. And it's not exactly like that road is smooth. There's a lot of really nasty bumps on it. So if it upsets the car at all, you may find yourself not on the track, but on the grass. And compound that, of course, with what you mentioned before, you get spilled right out into that corner where there's a bunch of traffic already. And so people coming through there have to be very, very aware of what's coming off of pit road. Luckily, you can see pit road pretty easily from before you enter the turn, so it's a pretty good. You get a pretty good idea, especially if the spotter's talking to you about what's coming off pit road. But could be a very treacherous place later on in the race.
It could be a very treacherous place indeed, and we'd like to welcome all of you to the 5th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Series here from Phillip Island. Now, this track is about 2.76 miles in length. It has 12 corners. And the overall lap record in all of official racing, that was set by Simon Wallace, a time of 1 minute 24.221. Of course, the drivers in this series going a lot faster than that. And also, we'd like to say a big thank you to a couple of people. First of all, to Team Redline for Team Redline tipping, and also to iRacing.com, purveyors of the most realistic simulation in the world for motor racing, and also to our good friends at ETV as well for all your overall broadcasting needs. Head over to ETV. Back to the racetrack. The drivers currently have got about 3 minutes 30 seconds left before they head over to the grid, and that is always that sweaty bum moment part of the race. These drivers now testing out their race setup. Some of them might have had to make some last minute changes if their qualifying wasn't the way they wanted it to be, but we really set for a good race here today.
Yeah, the heart rates will definitely be rising. It's just like it's the last couple of moments before they've had their pre-race team talks. It's all down to them now. So definitely the heart rates will be going, and the adrenaline will surely be pumping at this stage.
So we've got ourselves about 3 minutes now before we go to the grid. We'll run through your starting grid for this 5th round, and on pole position with a time of 1 minute 7.445 is indeed the number 1 machine of Gregor Hutu. In 2nd position, Hugo Louis in the number 2 car, a 1 minute 7.510 for him. Martin Kroenke, good qualifying for him once again. He starts in the 3rd position. Alexei Usiakola in 4th, Atsi Kirchhoff in 5th, Jake Sturgis in 6th, Fulvio Barazoni in 7th, Marcus Caton in 8th, Richie Stanaway in 9th, and then Mogar Philo in the 10th position. Enzo Benito 11th, Max Delorco in 12th, Jason Love at 13th, David Corpse in the 14th position, Petru Kotavara in 15th, PJ Sturgill 16th, Yudai Rumi in 17th, Blake Townend in 18th, Ika Hapala 19th, and Andre Borcha running out your top 20. And Ben, I say a couple of names are missing here today. Of course, we're talking about Luke McLean, but also Rico Anatalo not here today, losing his WCS license for the time being, and also Pablo Lopez given a 1 race suspension.
Yeah, it was a couple of unfortunate events which happened at the last round at Road America, but I guess what the iRacing stewards say is what stands just like in real Formula 1, so we've got to deal with it. But it's good, it's given a couple of the other guys, the newer guys who have just gone from the pro license into the World Championship license, a go this round here at Phillip Island. So 69 laps, it's going to push them a lot, but hopefully they can get up there and they'll learn a lot from this, and hopefully they can qualify again.
And also, Joni Bäckman, our statistician, just alluded to this. We had 30 guys in 0.8 of a second in qualifying. That is hugely close times there, Paul.
Yeah, definitely a very tight field. We're looking at less than a second for, wow, pretty much the entire field. Yes, the entire field is covered by less than a second from 1st to 35th, at least on the grid here. So to say these cars, these guys are very tightly matched would be a gross understatement.
And we're getting ready to go racing. Of course, a couple of changes made to the cars over the past weeks as well. We've had an upgrade by iRacing for the tyre compound with their tyre model, so that might come into play as well. Some drivers might be racing in slightly unfamiliar territory. We'll keep an eye out on that, however, as this race progresses. But meanwhile, we are waiting for the checkered flag to come out to signify the end of qualifying here, and with that we'll head over to the starting grid for the 5th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Series. Don't forget, you can keep in contact with us all race long on Twitter. All you need to do is use the hashtag GlacierTV, or alternatively iRacing WCS. 35 guys have come to the land down under to get themselves racing for 69 laps here today. Gregor Hutu is looking for his first time ever to win a race at Phillip Island. Hugo Louis, starting in the 2nd position, wants to take that championship lead back. Martin Kroenke has had some great starts so far in the World Championship Series. And Alexei Usiakola as well. Do not forget about him. He is a very good starter and a very good racer as well. For Atsi Kirchhoff in the 5th position, expect him to use whatever he can to get himself through the field during the course of this race as well. We are waiting, and some point very soon those lights will go on the iRacing.com gantry. They will stay on for between 5 and 7 seconds, so we'll be racing for 69 laps around this track here today, waiting for those lights to go on, waiting for lights out here at Phillip Island, and here we go, screaming down into turn 1 for the first time, and it's a good start by Gregor Hutu, a good start also by Hugo Louis. They're charging down flat out into turn 1, as now they're going to make the charge down into turn 2. Atsi Kirchhoff needs to get himself up into the 3rd position, Barazoni up into the 4th position, Martin Kroenke lost himself 2 positions, as has Jake Sturgis, and Michael DG Philo's also needing to get up the field a little bit. We have a crash at the rear of the field. We'll get yourself an update on who that is momentarily, but out front, importantly, Gregor Hutu has been able to keep that race lead as they're working themselves up the hill for the first time. Ben.
Looks like Blake Townend was caught up down there at Southern Loop, but everyone else got a great start. What a great start from Flavio Barazzoni, like up to 4th position. That's great from P7.
Great for Barazzoni, great also for Axel Kirchhoff. Once again, a good start by him. And we believe that it is Hornet and Matilla and Blake Townend who was involved in that incident on lap number 1. We'll get ourselves a replay of the start once everything settles down. But as they come out of turn number 12, for the first time, Gregor Hutu is going to be in the lead of the race. Let's see what the gap is. He comes to our start-finish line, and it is going to stand at about 8 tenths of a second over Hugo Louise. Axel Kirchhoff is a further 6 tenths of a second back. And then Barazzoni's only about 2 car lengths behind in that 4th position. Martin Conke, he started this race in the 3rd spot, and he's already fallen down to that 5th position. And Paul, we've seen Conke has some great starts today, however. It does not work well for him, as Max Delorco is making a pass for Richard Stanaway.
Yeah, Delorco actually now making a double pass. He just passed Philo also, but Philo having none of it and passes him right back. So Delorco settles into 8th place and is looking very much like a hard charger. I was going to mention too, Stanaway, without that clutch, looks like he did make a pretty good start, so coping well with mechanical issues.
He is coping well indeed, and it's really impressive there, Ben, how he was able to still get going despite the fact he had no clutch on his race car. He's currently running in what, the 9th position on the racetrack now, as we pass Max Delorco, and he's still sitting nicely there in the top 10.
Yeah, also a bit of an issue for Oleski Ukula. Oh, I'm going to struggle with that name once again, as I do every single week. Will you going to have to help me out here?
I need to figure out who you're talking about. Yeah, but Alex Uciacola.
That's the one.
Bad start by him. He's on the attack right now, though. He's trying to go side by side down into turn number 1 with one of the Inex cars, like Jason Lovett. He sweeps past him on the inside, and he moves himself now up into the 12th position on the racetrack. So for Yakola, he started in the 4th position, dropped right back after having an incident on that first lap, but now trying to methodically work his way through the field once again, of course. Alex Uciacola is so strong. Oh no, they're both off the track there, and that was down at turn number 4, and they were coming down into the corner. Barazzoni looked to have the inside line as they came down into the corner. He got himself on the grass a little bit, and he just came across there, actually, Kirchhoff, and he didn't leave him any room there at all, Paul.
Yeah, it looks like he got loose just trying to get out of that corner, and the car just kicked out a little bit on just enough, and managed to catch the other car, and damaged enough damage to Barazzoni's car that brings him all the way back.
So we've got a replay coming up on your screen. Sorry, Ben, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it's such a shame for those two. They both, Artie needs the points to stay up there, but Barazzoni had a fantastic start. It's really unfortunate now.
Yeah, and meanwhile, say replay is up on your screen as they work themselves down into turn number 4, and that was hugely disappointing there. Barazzoni just came across a tiny bit too much there, and they were still side by side. In fact, you could argue that Kirchhoff would have had the advantage as they worked themselves up the hill into turn 5, 6, and 7. But meanwhile, it is still Gregor Hutu, your race leader. That gap already is up to 3.4 seconds between himself and now Martin Krunke. What's actually happened to Hugo Louis? Hugo Louis looks like he's out of the race, guys.
Hugo Louis had a mechanical problem right before gridding and could not get the car to the grid. The car, as far as I can tell, was not on the grid. So Hugo Louis, before he even managed to start the car, is out. Meanwhile, Max Delorco, up to 4th position, and now is all over Philo for 3rd. So Delorco, in just the span of the last minute or so, has already made up 2 positions and is threatening heavily for 3rd.
So right now, it is Gregor Hutu, your race leader, but Martin Conke now up into the 2nd position. And we have confirmation with Max Delorco as they come down into turn number 1. Once again, he's going to try and make yet another move, this time on Mogar Philo, and he moves himself now up into the 3rd position. But for Hugo Louis, this is going to be catastrophic for him. And we talk about the times in races when you need to have a good finish. Today was one of them. As Hutu and Louis came into the race equal on points, it was going to be whoever came out on top would be walking out as the winner. However, for Gregor Hutu, now he's got that luck out of his back now. He has a chance to go on and win this race, and he's got a 4-second advantage over Martin Conke. And he's also got Mogar Philo putting pressure on the German of Martin Conke in that number 6 machine as well. Meanwhile, it looks like Sturgis is on pit road. He's having some issues with his race car, we believe. but also Max Alorco now running in that 4th position, one of the fastest guys on the racetrack right now, and he's running in that 3rd spot there.
Other way, I think you actually said that around the wrong way. Sorry, Will. It's actually Cronky in 2nd with Mogar and Max battling with Max actually has gotten around Mogar for 3rd. But these guys, as I said earlier, Enzo, Richie Stanaway, Marcus Caton, these guys we don't normally see up the front like this, but now they're challenging for a podium position. This is really a good time for these guys to shine.
Meanwhile, Joni Terminal on the outside line coming down into turn number 1. Will he be able to make the move stick there as they come down into turn 2? That is on Ika Hapala. Move Joni Terminal up now into... Oh no, Andre Porch is spinning that car there as they come out of turn number 2. He's going to lose himself 3, maybe 4 positions there, indeed 4 positions, as Simon Cattell and also Jasper Pedersen is going to go past there. And it's all banged up as they come down into turn number 4 once again. Joni Terminal now going to be on the outside line as they work themselves down into turn number 5 with Ika Hapala going to regain that position that he lost half a lap ago. So the Orion Racing team and also Team Micro-AD battling in the midfield right now, Joni Terminal and Ika Hapala. Meanwhile, it looks as though we have a spinner, and this is Cattell, Simon Cattell in the number 32 machine. Meanwhile, Gregor Hutu's now got that gap up to 4 seconds on the racetrack between himself and Martin Kroenke. Max Alorco still running in that 3rd position. Last time by, Max Alorco a 1 minute 8.948. Martin Kroenke a 1 minute 10.174. Kroenke is suffering right now. That gap is now up to 4.5 seconds on the racetrack, and Max Alorco is reeling him in with so much speed. Mogar DG Philo is also actually catching Martin Kroenke as well. It's a little bit slower than Max Alorco, but as they work themselves down into turn number 5 once again, Ben, look at the speed that Max Alorco has.
I think Martin Kroenke could be trying the undercut in this, where he's trying to do a 1-stop strategy, where I think everyone else is on a 2-stop strategy. It does look like his car is a lot more heavier, as it is a lot more slower in the corners, but that's just something I'm noticing.
Meanwhile, we're going to try and go on board with Max Alorco as they work themselves out of turn number 11 down into turn number 12. Once again, they are flat out from here on all the way until they get into turn number 2 on this racetrack. We'll keep an eye out on these 2 drivers. Max Alorco, he's close, he's already looking to see if he can try and make the move as they come down the start-finish line into turn number 1. He's going to try and take the inside line. Will he be able to sweep through? Yes, he does. Move Max Alorco in the number 52 machine up into the 2nd position on the racetrack. And I tell you what, last time by, he did a 1 minute 9.224. He was faster than Gregor Hutu.
By the matter of about a half a second faster than Gregor Hutu, certainly more than enough time to catch up to the number 1 car and make it contention. Currently about 3 seconds behind Gregor Hutu, so plenty of time at this rate for Max Alorco to make a bid for the front. Gregor has got to be hearing this from his crew chief that Alorco is just reeling him in. So it's going to be interesting to see here in the next 5 or 6 laps, I think, what Hutu is going to do to face this challenge. Meanwhile, I believe Hugo Luis, at least temporarily, was on the track, and he is still on the track, so he has managed to sort that out, but he is 2 laps down.
Meanwhile, we are having a look at the battles on the racetrack a little bit further down the field right now. We believe we're having a look at Alexei Yakola. He's currently battling with Marcus Caton in number 45 car, who's also close to the rear of Richie Stanaway. This is a battle for 6th, 7th and 8th positions on the racetrack right now. Yakola, he's not going to make the move down into turn number 2, but he can get a good run through here. Remembering that Caton gets a little bit of a wiggle there. We've also got the dirty air of Richie Stanaway behind. It might mean that he might have the chance to get run down into turn number 4. He won't, however. Meanwhile, ahead of them, Enzo Benito and Mogar Philo are also battling. And I tell you what, I think the fact that Axel Kirchhoff is out of this race, the fact that you've got Barazoni out of the race, and the fact that Hugo Luis is so far down the field, Ben, a lot of these drivers have realised that this is their best chance to get in the podium all season long.
That's exactly right, and we've got a couple of guys up there who really do need the points. Richie Stanaway hasn't competed in a round yet, or he has competed in a round. I don't think he's got very much points next to his name, but he really does need them to get back into the top 25. But there's also Marcus Caton, who can do with a lot of points. Udai Narumi in P9, PJ Sturgios, haven't spoken about him a lot, P10. these guys are all battling for really good positions, which can probably make them qualify in the top 25 for next year.
Meanwhile, we're checking very quickly on Enzo Benito and Mo Garfilo. They are battling for the 4th and 5th positions on the racetrack. Now, Benito gets a very good run through turn number 1, but he's not been able to get that inside line down into the 2nd corner on the racetrack, and in fact he gets the momentum loss all the way through turn 3. He's nowhere near as close as they come down into turn number 4 as he was at the start of this lap. Behind them, meanwhile, Marcus Caton down to the inside on Richard Stanaway. Will he be able to get the job done? Of course, Stanaway's now going to have the inside line as they come down into turn number 5. He will get the inside line, and it's going to be enough just for the time being to hold Marcus Caton off. And also Alexei Yusiokola thinks, thank you very much. He's going to go down the inside, and he's going to move himself up into the position, and also Caton losing another position there, and that is to Udine and Rumi. So it shows there, Paul, that there was a chance for Marcus Caton to go up into the 6th position. In fact, he ends up falling back all the way down into 9th.
And Marcus Bäckman in further trouble here as he's now under attack from Sturgis. But, yeah, you know, the thing was, he was in the southern loop, and you saw he was way, way, way on the outside. It's very dusty out there, so he had to very gingerly bring that car around. Go ahead.
Meanwhile, Alexei Yusiokola down to the inside, coming into turn 1. He's now going to get past Richie Stanaway, a clean pass down into 1. He moves himself now up into the 6th position. Of course, this is Alexei Yusiokola, who qualified just 0.2 of a second behind Gregor Hutu at the start of this race. Had some issues on lap number 1. He's going to need to get himself now knocking on the door of the top 5 once again. Enzo Benito and Mo Garfilo, they are continuing their battle as well, but Benito just doesn't look as though he's able to hold that car in dirty air, Ben.
Looks like Blake Town has just gone off at Southern Loop. Oh, it's been a massive accident down there. Looks like a bit of contact with Christian Laurenetti.
Yeah, we've got Daniel Lopez involved in that as well as Blake Tanner, and Andrew Borcher looking as though he's very slow at the moment as well. And you say that was down into turn number 4, and it all started with Jesper Pedersen, and I think that Pedersen just ran into the rear there of Andrew Borcher, turned him around, and then as drivers started to try to avoid him, you had a secondary incident, and I believe that's what involved Daniel Lopez and perhaps also Dion Verges as well. We'll try and get ourselves a replay of that. But
two different crashes, Pedersen. I think, actually, Will.
The first crashes, but one started from the other.
Yeah, one actually started back down at turn 1 where Blake Townend went up the inside of Christian Laurenetti. They just both ran out of space, and that's been a huge accident. Then your one down at turn 4.
So, of course, emotion always brings the order of the day here at Phillip Island. Meanwhile, we're having a look at Udine Rumi. Will he try and make the pass down in turn 1? Doesn't look as though he's going to be close enough on the rear of Richie Stanaway. But meanwhile, Mo Garfilo and Enzo Benito, they are still very close, but still, Paul, it doesn't look as though Benito can get working through turn 2.
Yeah, just a little bit slower through turn 2. It looks like as he gets into the faster bits of this track, he loses a little bit of space, but Philo having a little bit more trouble on the slower twisty bits, and is allowing Benito.
Meanwhile,
it looks like trouble with Caton.
Yeah, Marcus Caton there in the number 45 car. He's just actually been able to get past PJ Sturgis, but they was very close there down into turn number 10. Sturgis had to look down to the inside. They almost came together running side by side all the way through turn number 11. But it looks like Caton was able to keep the job for the time being. But then Sturgis now on the outside line down into turn number 1. He now will get the undercut. Now will get the chance down into turn number 2. Sturgis moves himself now up into the 9th position. Marcus Caton's bad woes continues. He's actually now out of the top 10 because Jason Lovett goes past him as well. Caton's now going to try and go back down the inside into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race down into 4. Jason Lovett, always one of the best last of the late breakers. Lovett also knows he needs to get well through this corner. Lovett's now going to try and go in the outside line for turn number 5. Marcus Caton on the inside. Lovett getting a little bit squirrely there. You'll have to find a way of falling back into line because he's got David Klops right behind him. But thankfully there, Marcus Caton able to just stay within the top 10. And this is one of the features of this race, Ben. You have to time your moves. Yes, you can overtake here, but if you don't make that pass happen, these drivers are running so closely together on the racetrack that they put themselves offline. Guys are sweeping underneath them.
Yeah, the problem is the field is so bunched up. Sorry, Paul. The field is so bunched up at the moment that if someone pushes them wide, 3 or 4 cars are going to go through, and they're going to lose 3 or 4 positions. So what they've got to do, they've got to plan their moves. That even though they're working in teams and whatnot, They probably want to just make their way up, but you don't want to make it up just before the straight because you'll get passed again as going down to turn 1 and turn 2 down at Southern Loop. So you want to do it around the back end of the circuit. So it's been really close, hard racing at the moment, and I can't wait for the rest of it.
And I tell you what, Max Alorco is still as fast as Gregor Hutu. Brass stand by, Max Alorco a 1 minute 9.172, Gregor Hutu a 1 minute 9.276. Your current retirees in this race, you have Paul Ilbrink, Ati Kirchhoff, Fulvio Barrazzoni and Blake Townend on the racetrack as Gregor Hutu is coming past now to put 14 laps in the book in the 5th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Series here from Phillip Island. So very quickly, looks as though that Stephen Michaels needs to get himself up a position now, running in the 18th spot and also closing down on Dion Verges. But to give you an update of this race so far, Gregor Hutu started this race from pole position, was able to get a huge lead over Hugo Luis at the start of this race before Luis had issues in that number 2 machine. Ati Kirchhoff and Fulvio Barrazzoni were battling for the 3rd position, had a huge crash down at turn number 4, which has put them out of the running for the day. Also, you have yourselves Max Alorco has been able to charge himself up into the 2nd position. And Alexei Usiakola, he fell back early on. He's been able to get himself running back within the top 6. And also you had Richard Stanaway, who was slow off the line. He lost himself a lot of positions, but been able to gain back up as well. Mogar Filo and Enzo Benito are also running in the top 5, so very good runnings for these 2 drivers, as it looks as though that Stephen Michaels is now out of the race. Meanwhile, to turn our attention back to this battle between Hutu and Alorco, you've alluded to it already a little bit, Ben, but it could be that Alorco might be a little bit low on fuel than Gregor Hutu right now, or he's just got blistering pace.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm hearing rumours that a 2-stop strategy is quicker here, just if you get it right. You have to nail that pit entry and that pit exit. You have to stop in your pit box right in the right position. So I'm not sure. We're only on lap 16, going on 17 now as Gregor just starts his lap really. And I'm not sure. Like, these guys have already made their decisions. They know what they're doing. They know exactly how much fuel they need to get to the end. I can't wait to see what Martin Kroenke's got in store. I think he's losing too much time just out of raw pace. I think he's got something in the bag.
I don't know, for Martin Kroenke, it's going to be interesting to see. Of course, Kroenke has done some alternative strategies before in the World Championship Series, and you never know, Del Orco or Kroenke could continue the heartbreak for Gregor Hutu. Let's not forget, Paul, this is the one track that he's never won at.
Yeah, absolutely, and it does look like Del Orco is reeling him in very, very slowly. His last lap, 108.938 to Hutu's, well, Hutu just turned to 108.996 to Del Orco's 108.725. So Del Orco faster, but will he have enough time? And you did allude to the idea that possibly it's a two-stop race, but we're kind of sort of closing in on the window of where he'd have to stop if he was going to be. So we'll know that answer here pretty quickly.
Well, we're having a look on board with Max Alorco right now as he overtakes a little bit of traffic as he works himself down into turn number 4. Now, this is the part of the racetrack where you're slowest, then you work yourself up into turn number 5. This double apex left handle includes turn number 6 as well. And Ben, this is that part of the racetrack from these sweeping sections as you come up to turn number 9 right now that you've really got to get a good line to set yourself up for turn number 10 and 11.
The problem is, Lukey Heights is completely blind where he's just come over. As you come down into MG now, you can lock that inside front. It's so easy. Then getting on the power out and into turn 11 is so hard. The car is so taily. And then you're completely flat through the next corner down the main straight.
So, Max Alorco, last time by, did a 1 minute 8.724. What does he do this time to come past the start-finish line? It's a 1 minute 8.773 there for Max Alorco. Meanwhile, Gregor Hutu did a 1 minute 8.925. And just checking in very quickly on the hometown kid, Ben Cornett. He's battling right now with Hal Gudasso, and it looks like he's been able to get past the number 46 machine. But Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at Jasper Peterson and almost got into the rear end of Hugo Luis. He was getting into Southern Loop, and the car got very, very squirrely on him. Go ahead.
But meanwhile, Emil Spindell is battling right now with Ika Hapano even as they work themselves down into Southern Loop once again, turn number 2. Now they'll come down into turn number 3, Casey Stoner Ben, as they work themselves flat out 175 miles an hour Spindell looking as though he's going to try and set himself up on the inside line down into turn number 4. Will he complete the pass? Yes, he will. Move Emil Spindell now up into the 15th position, and Hika Lapala down into the 16th spot on the racetrack. We currently have 27 guys running on the lead lap. Drivers who are running but a lap down, we have Jesper Pedersen, who has some issues with his race car. Hugo Luis, who had some big issues early on, is running 2 laps down in the 29th position. Alexi Loma also has some rear wing issues, and then we have Stephen Michaels, Blake Tannen, Fulvio Barazoni, Ati Kirchhoff, and Paul Ilbrink all out of the race. But this match continues right now with Max Alorco and Gregor Hutu, and it's still 0.2 of a second faster for Max Alorco. We know, however, Paul, that Hutu is good when it matters. That last third of a stint, coming onto pit road, the pit box itself, and then that outlap. So Max Alorco is going to have to pull every single trick out of the bag if he is indeed going to close up and try and win this race.
Well, absolutely. And you talk about the pit entry and pit exit here, both very, very fast. The pit entry coming off of turn 11, you've got that little left-hander there, and it's effectively, it's straight on from there. So you come down that, and again, it's narrow, it's bumpy, but you come up at full song and then just slam into the brakes to get slowed down enough to not speed onto pit road. And then again, of course, we talked about it before coming off. Again, full song, you just flick it to the right and you're on the race surface. It requires precision, but you have to be fast through there if you have any hope of having a good stop.
So 19 laps now in the books. Don't forget, you can give yourself, keep in touch with us on Twitter. Use the hashtag iRacingWCS, alternatively hashtag GlacierTV as well. Shout out to Pablo Lopez, unfortunately watching this race from the stands. He says disco, and then Sean Lee says don't mention disco because Ben Rothberg will be giving out free disco tickets. But meanwhile, Enzo Benito and Mogar Filo still battling it out on the racetrack for 4th and 5th positions on the racetrack. Benito has got so close to 4th this time actually. He's a lot closer as they work themselves through turn 3 down into turn 4. Not going to be quite close enough there to make the lunge down into turn number 4, but I think keep it all together now through this section of the racetrack. As they come into turn 5 and 6, he might have a chance as they work themselves up into turn number 10. But meanwhile, Petro Kotovara, he's currently right now side by side with Joni Tamala. He's going to try and go around the outside as they come down into 5. It's not going to happen, and Joni Tamala is able to keep right now that 13th position on the racetrack then.
These guys are having great little battles here, like they're all over the place, and the thing is, this track is so fast, so you need to have so much commitment here, and these guys are concentrating on the front car in front of them. But I just want to give a quick shout out to Ben Cornett again. I've got to use this word because it's the Australian word. He's doing a grouse job at the moment. He's up 10 positions from where he qualified. I reckon it's just a pretty solid job from him.
I think it is as well, you know, and of course he is right now one of the 2 Australian New Zealand drivers. Of course, Australia and New Zealand share a club here on iRacing, so we bunch them together. It's one of the 2 drivers who are representing the hometown crowd here today. Luke McLean is perhaps, however, Ben, the disappointment of the hometown crowd today. He didn't qualify for this race.
Yeah, unfortunately, as we said before, like he must have just had maybe a little bit of internet issues or something's gone wrong on his end. But it's unfortunate, but maybe just the pressure got to him. But it's really going to hurt his championship, especially with these other guys who are right behind him in the championship getting a lot of points, it looks like.
So to run through your top 10 and also to run through gains and losses as well, Gregor Hutu, he started this race on pole position, is still running in 1st. Max Delorco up 10 places since the start of this race, running in 2nd. Martin Kroenke in 3rd where he started. Mogar Filo is currently running in the 4th position, and he is up 6 positions when we started. Enzo Benito up 6 spots running in 5th. Alexei Siakoda down 2 spots in 6th. Yudan Rumi up 10 spots in 7th. Richie Stanaway up 1 spot in 8th. PJ Sturgis up 7 spots in 9th. And then rounding out your top 10 is Marcus Caton, and he is 2 spots down from where he started. And also, you see there, Joni Tamala and Emil Spindell both up 19 places since the start of the race. There's some big movers in this race, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Patella Tamala, up in 13th. He started all the way back in the back of the grid. I believe we're looking at 32nd position. So a spirited drive by him. Max Delorco, of course, started in 12th, now in 2nd, and getting awfully big in Gregor Hutu's mirrors.
He is getting incredibly large in Gregor Hootu's mirrors. That gap is now down to less than 2 seconds on the racetrack. It is 1.9 seconds right now between the number 1 machine of Gregor Hootu and the number 52 machine of Max Alorco. And for people who are new to the World Championship Series, these numbers make a difference as well, because drivers like Gregor Hootu, number 1, he's the championship winner from last year. He is returning to the World Championship Series. Drivers like Max Alorco had to qualify in the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. That, of course, was broadcast on GlacierTV just to get into the World Championship Series, and then they had to try and get to the top 25 and qualify. Meanwhile, Enzo Benito, he's trying every single different line in the book. I'm thinking though, Ben, if he was to actually just take turn 2 normally, he'd actually get himself right up to the rear of Philo as they come down to turn 4, and he'd be able to breeze past with Benito. Right now, he's just not nailing turn 2 at all.
Enzo's just, he hooks in that draft down that main straight and just catches up so fast, and I do agree with you. I think you should just sit behind him and make the move down at turn 4, sorry. But like, these cars just, they've got so much draft down the main straight. I've actually got a feeling we're going to see Max Alorco in any lap now. I reckon he's doing a 2-stop strategy.
So the pit window is open. We'll hand it down to our pit reporter Dan Blake as soon as these cars come down on towards pit road. That gap right now though is 1 second on the racetrack, a 1 minute 8.439. Last time by for Max Alorco. He's within a second right now of Gregor Hootu as they work themselves down into turn number 4 once again, coming through Casey Stoner Bend turn 3, now down into turn number 4, working themselves on lap number 24. The pit window now is open, so we expect pit road to be a very busy place in the next couple of laps. Very quickly, I'd like to give a big shout out to my good friend Mark Warmington. He says, I'm always surprised Wood doesn't get cramp in his tongue or jam when he's commentating. I have no idea either. But meanwhile, we've got also David Corp, Joni Simon and Petros Kotovara. They are having a good fight for 13th through 15th positions on the racetrack, but we're going to keep it with Max Alorco for the time being. We're going to see whether he comes down pit road this time by. If he doesn't, it's going to be an absolutely blistering lap there for the number 52 car, Max Alorco, and he stays out for another lap. Let's see what the gap is as they come past the start finish line. Of course, he's now into that dirty air, Gregor Hootu. So that's why his lap time suffered just a little bit that last time. It was a 1 minute 8.699, and that gap stays at exactly 1 second on the racetrack. Gonna have to put it out there, Paul. If Alorco is on this strategy, I think he should pit earlier. Just for the simple fact he's now on that dirty air. It doesn't look as though he can go any quicker.
I'm sorry, it was some information about Enzo. Looks like he's going to go ahead and make a try again on Philo, but he's got the line this time around, Will.
He's got the line this time, but it gets a little bit sideways, as does Philo. But now Benito's going to get the run as they come out of turn number 2. He'll have the inside line down into Stoner Bend, turn number 3. But then Philo's going to have the inside line down to turn number 4. We know how good Philo is on the brakes. Benito tries to go deep, tries to do the cut under. Philo holds on for another go there. And I just get a flashback there of the first round of the Pro Series at Spa. I remembered how good Philo is on the brakes, able to keep that 4th spot right there, but they are losing touch right now with Martin Kroenke. They are 4 seconds behind the number 6 machine of Martin Kroenke right now, but they're working themselves on lap number 25 of 69. Alorco stays out for another lap as well. Let's see what the gap is between those drivers as they come past the start finish line. Hootu does a 1 minute 8.782. That gap is now down to 7 tenths of a second as Alorco does a 1 minute 8.452. Martin Kroenke still only in the 1 minute 9 to 1 minute 9 flat for him. Philo has now got once again Benito on his outside, so work themselves down into turn number 2. Will Benito going to get the run this time? Philo is so good on that inside line of turn number 1 as they come down into turn number 2. This time, Enzo Benito is going to get the job done, and almost there. Philo runs into the rear of Enzo Benito. He got a very good run on the outside line there as they work themselves through Casey Stoner Bend once again. Move Enzo Benito now up into the 4th position on the racetrack, and also run the outside. Here comes Alexi Uciacola, and he wasn't able to get the job done there, but a bit of a fight there for Mogar Philo and the number 27 machine.
And spending so much time fighting with each other, Benito and Philo, that this gives Alexi an opportunity to reel them both in. So Alexi definitely going to try and make that move there, but is going to have to settle back in and try and reel Philo back in. But finally managed to get it done there for Benito. He was working on it for several laps, but now Philo in trouble for 5th.
Also, there's an instant there between Petros Kotovara and Joni Simon as well, Ben.
Max DeLorco again, another 3/10 out of Gregor Hutu last lap. He's now very close to the back. He's only 4/10 away from Gregor Hutu, race leader. So I think Max has got to pit now. He's got to get new tyres, full tank of fuel, and just go. Maybe he's trying to stretch this out and go a one-stop strategy. I think he's trying to change his strategy next. He knows he's got that pace over Gregor.
But meanwhile, Alexei Yakoda in the battle now for the 5th position with Mogar Philo. Again, struggling a little bit through turn number 2. Philo takes a bit of an unconventional line through there, and I think that upsets the balance of the car behind. Yakoda wasn't close enough to make the pass there down into turn number 4. But these guys right now, they have dropped back to 5 seconds now behind Martin Conke, so they have to get going at some point soon. Max DeLorco right now, he is just 2 car lengths behind Gregor Hutu, and he doesn't come down pit road again. You see the straight line advantage that the car in that slipstream will get down the front straight away. Max DeLorco already up to 191, 192, 93 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour faster as they come down into turn 1. That gap is now just 2 and a bit tenths of a second on the racetrack. It was a 1 minute 8.551 for Max DeLorco, a 1 minute 8.730 there for Gregor Hutu. And will he try and make the move down into turn number 4? This will be for the race lead. Max DeLorco signing him up. He's going to go down the inside, and Max DeLorco goes to the race lead here at Phillip Island, and he takes that race lead away from Gregor Hutu. Perhaps this is the shining moment in Max DeLorco's career. The 52 car to the race lead here at Phillip Island.
What an amazing, amazing pass there. He was sizing him up the entire lap before, and you see how DeLorco just worked on him and just picked his spot and just made a great run on him. What a great pass.
It was
Max DeLorco. Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. He knew his move was... Sorry, we've just got Sturgis down in P9.
He had an incident, we believe, with Richie Stanaway. We'll get confirmation of this. And there's an incident with Daniel Lopez. So we'll get confirmation of what this is Jake Sturgis even with Daniel Lopez, and that was down into turn number 10 and 11 on the racetrack. But meanwhile, Max DeLorco is your new race leader here at Phillip Island. Hutu right now is 3/10 of a second back. Martin Conke still running in that 3rd position. Benito in 4th. Yakoda has been able to get past now Mogar Philo, and also Yudan Narumi had a little bit of a look there down into turn number 2. Let's see whether Narumi can get a good run out of turn number 2 now as they work themselves through into turn number 3. Keith Stoner Bend once again, and Narumi looking as though he's got the straight line speed advantage. Philo is going defensive already. Narumi's going to have a look down the inside, not going to be able to get the job done. Will he try to cut and then make the move down to turn 5? No, he won't. But meanwhile, Max DeLorco now working himself into turn number 11 once again, working on lap number 29. Let's see whether he comes down pit road at some point soon. No, he doesn't. So right now, you're going to have to argue here, Ben, that this could be raw pace for Max DeLorco.
This is amazing. Maybe it's just Gregor doesn't like this circuit or something. I'm understanding he hasn't won here, but why? There must be some. Maybe there's a curse upon Finnish people winning here. I'm not sure, but Gregor just looked like he's been the stronger man all through the first 4 rounds, but Max DeLorco has caught Gregor from a 5-second lead and is now leading and pulling away.
And Max DeLorco, let's not forget, he started this race outside the top 10. He started this race in the 12th position. For anyone who says you cannot overtake in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, you've just seen so much of it already in this race, and we are only working on lap 30 of 69. This is round 5 of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series here on Glacier TV. Will Vincent, Ben Rothberg, Paul Jenkins with Dan Blake down on pit road as well. Max DeLorco, we keep an eye out, and he comes in this time. Max DeLorco comes down onto pit road, going to hand it over to Dan.
Yeah, Max DeLorco in the pits, bit of a slide there, but he just about keeps it under control as he now comes into the pit lane area to make his pit stop. So interesting to see what happens for the car of Max DeLorco, race leader. He pulls in now. Looks like he stopped it pretty well. The car goes up and that down again. This should be quite a quick pit stop for Max DeLorco. He's taken on quite a bit of fuel though. He's now been released out onto the track. So where will he come out is the question. I think he'll probably come out. Richie Stanaway, PJ Sturgis used to come past. Also Jason Lovett. I think he'll find himself just around Petro Cotavara, around that sort of area. But good pit stop there.
He does indeed. He comes out right behind Petro Cotavara, and of course, the Azura Racing teammate of Cotavara will probably just move out of the way when Dell'Orco comes up behind him. Alexei Loma also came onto pit road that time by as well. We'll see when Gregor Hutu comes onto pit road. Of course, right now, Hutu is going to have the advantage. He's going to have lighter fuel than Max Dell'Orco. But, of course, Dell'Orco was fast at the start of this race as well. He was doing lap times within 1 minute 9 within a couple of laps of this race. Gregor Hutu, as he comes past start finish line, lap time is a 1 minute 8.711. Right now, Gregor Hutu has to push like no tomorrow for the next 5 or 6 laps, if indeed he is going to try and win this race. He has, right now, a 10.2 second gap over Martin Kroenke in the second position. Enzo Benito is a further 5 seconds back with Alexei Yusiakola in 4th, and Mogar Philo rounding out your top 5. And we have to say, Penn, that Philo had a good start to the race, but it looks like he's kind of fallen away in the second half of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with a couple of those cars there, but like Enzo Benito up there, he's got cracking pace, and these guys are starting to pull in Martin Kroenke as well. These guys, they got into a bit of an issue where they were all passing each other, one another and whatnot, but these guys are in a straight line now and they're catching. But one to watch is Max Dell'Orco. His pit stop was 6.4 seconds. I don't think that's quick enough. Sorry, I don't think it was long enough to put the fuel in till the end of the race. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Indeed, and we will have to hope that Max Dell'Orco has enough fuel to do this on one stop. Meanwhile, Hutu comes past start finish line once again to put 32 laps in the book, so approaching half race distance right now. And having a look bit further down the field as well, you've got yourself a nice battle going on between Richie Stanaway and PJ Sturgis. This is a battle for the 7th and 8th positions on the racetrack pool. And Sturgis, let's not forget, he's had to work his way through the field as well. He started this race 16th, and of course Stanaway, he started this race 9th, but had issues at the start of this race.
Sturgis has been stuck in that hornet's nest of Stanaway through, well, Dell'Orco is now stuck in there, but it was down to Spindle. And this whole group of cars, actually, Hapala is getting into this too, but that whole group for this entire race has just been back and forth. There's some great racing back here in mid-pack. And of course now Dell'Orco is stuck in the middle of this, but he's heavy on fuel, so he's not going to make the gains that he was before. So he has to be very careful at this stage of the race that he doesn't get caught up in anything. Also, this answers a great many questions about why Dell'Orco was reeling Hutu in. Hutu's still out, has not made his pit stop yet, so Gregor really stretching it.
Meanwhile, Jake Sturgis on Ben Cornet as they work themselves down into turn 4. Looks as though Jake is going to get the job done there on Ben Cornet as they come out of turn 4 to move Jake Sturgis now up into the 17th position on the racetrack. Ben Cornet down into 18th. And I have to say though, until that point, Cornet has had a very good start to this race, Ben.
He certainly has. He's up to, he's just lost down a position to Jake, and he's down in 18th. But these guys are having a cracking battle between Jake, Ben, Martini, and I believe Yao as well. Actually, it keeps going. Simon Catterall and Christian Laurinetti's also catching them as well in 23rd.
So, still battles going on up and down the field as we are now at the halfway point of this race. And for Gregor Hutu, it's going to be interesting to see just how long he carries on. His last lap was a 1 minute 8.634. So right now he is faster than Dell'Orco. Of course, we need to keep all of our times comparable to that 52 driver. And Dell'Orco did a 1 minute 8.998. So he's only, and I say only, 0.3 of a second slower at this stage of the race as Gregor Hutu. But Dell'Orco has, what, 2/3 of a tank of gas in his car. And Gregor Hutu is getting close to running on fumes, Paul. So you have to say that Dell'Orco, if it all pieces together for him, still has a shot of winning this race.
Well, absolutely, and we've shown the car has miraculous speed. I mean, Dell'Orco has fastest lap of the race by a far margin, 108.265 right before his pit stop. Gregor Hutu, by way of comparison, right now running 108.621 the last lap. So in his fastest lap, 108.547 through the race. So, you know, Dell'Orco does have the speed, and so this is something that Hutu probably has in mind. So he wants to stay out there as long as possible and make up as much ground as possible before making a stop.
Just to chuck it in there, what was his fastest lap, sorry, Paul?
Gregor Hutu, I'm showing 108.547 to Del Orco's 108.265.
A 108.265 would put him 30th on the grid in qualifying. That is how quick that car is.
And of course, these drivers have different setups from qualifying, completely different setups from qualifying to the race. When you consider a track like this, for example, like 7th gear, you have to set completely differently for the race to make effect of that straight line speed that you get whilst running in the draft. And I'll tell you what, there's a huge logjam of cars right now ahead of Del Orco. You've got Joni, Marcus Caton, Jason Lovett still battling for position, and Lovett, you're trying to make a move, but also you've got Lovett, ahead of them, you've got PJ Sturgis making a move on Richard Stanaway down to the inside, down into turn number 1, and PJ Sturgis is going to get the job done. Marcus Caton, Jason Lovett still battling 2 wide, side by side, as they go down into turn number 2. Looks like Lovett is going to come out on top of that, and Caton will have to stay in the 10th position, but Caton's going to get a good one. He's going to try and run the outside into Casey Stoner bed. Now he'll set himself up down in turn 4. Wasn't able to get the job done, however, and I think right there, Paul, I think he got a bit unsighted when he got pushed all the way to the outside line through Casey Stoner.
Yeah, he did, and Catan again caught out in the southern loop. Every time he tries to make a move out there, he gets caught out in the dusty area. It's very slippery outside of the driving line on southern loop, so when Catan gets out there, he really has to swing the car around to try and keep it on the track. So really, credit to Catan for being able to keep the car sorted right in that area and keep up. But we're showing some serious speed in the first section of the track here for Catan.
Max, sorry about that. Max Del Orco is stuck in this traffic now. It's going to be killing his lap time, and he's probably going to lose the lead to Gregor Hutu. He's just done a 9.6. That is a 2.5 seconds slower than he ran the previous lap.
Yeah, and this is that part of the race right now. He is hoping that in the next couple of laps, these drivers start peeling themselves down onto pit road to make their pit stops, because every lap is going to be in this situation. He's going to be losing more and more time. Max Del Orco currently running in the 13th position, of course, was the first of these drivers to pit, but he's got Petr Kotobai, Joni Tamara, Marcus Caton, Jason Lover, Richard Stanaway and PJ Sturgis within 5 seconds of him right now. So you've really got to hope that at some point these drivers start coming down onto pit road. We are past the halfway point of this race now, working ourselves on lap 38 now of 69. And Huti stays out, Conke is still on the racetrack, and also Enzo Benito stays out on the racetrack as well. So Note is on towards pit road this time by, and having looked through the field, seeing still no one making that journey. And this really is going to have to start hurting as Caton comes down onto pit road, and we're going to hand it over once again to Dan.
Yeah, Marcus Caton now comes down towards me in pit lane, the speed limiter on. Don't think there's any pit lane speed in there. He seems to time out very well. As he now comes up towards his pit box, he's going to make that little turn to the left to go towards pits. He goes now. His car's stopped there. Up it goes onto the jacks.
You've also got Martin heading down into pit road as well, Dan, for you, so you can cover 2 while you're down there.
Who I should say was down there, Ben?
Martin, P22.
Miguel Martin in the number 50 car.
Miguel Martin, yeah. Miguel Martin's also at the pit stop now. Just cars just coming down, so he'll be soon on his way as well. But that seems to be 2 pretty quick pit stops there for Marcus Caton and Miguel Martin. They're both on their way though now. Back to you up in the commentary box.
Yeah, we're going to get Joni on this one very quickly as well. We're going to see how long these 2 drivers were in their pit boxes for getting fuel, because this could be the difference maker to see whether or not Del Orco is indeed on a 1 or a 2 stop strategy. If he is on a 2 stop strategy, he can almost kiss this race win goodbye. Meanwhile, Gregor Hutu is still about 11.2 seconds ahead, and we're going to talk to Joni very quickly. And how long will these guys actually in their boxes for?
Well, so far, out of all the guys still on track, I see only 7 guys having visited in the pits. Max Del Orco with that 6.7 second pit stop, 6.4 second pit stop. Jake Sturgis did a 7 flat. Marcus Caton did a 9.8. Miguel Martin 10.5. Jesper Pedersen 8.2. And Alexi Eloma did 6.7.
So it all means right now it does look as though still Max Del Orco is considering that 2 stop strategy. Meanwhile, for Gregor Hutu, he is now working himself to put 39 laps in the books. Jake Sturgis just setting the fastest lap of the race there, Paul.
Jake Sturgis, an impressive 108.163, I believe we're looking at here. But Jake Sturgis all the way back in 16th. But he's turned it up, 108.162 by race control here. So
Hugo in
incredible.
081.
And now Hugo in 081. So they're getting towards the end of the pits here, or the end of the field strategy here. We're really starting to rip off some serious laps.
Dan, you've got Udai Narumi down in pit lane, is that right?
Yes, I have. Just come down to his pit box now. Up he goes for Udai Narumi. He was running quite well up until this point as well. Running in the top 10 was Udai Narumi. Now the car's been dropped down, so he should be on his way soon. Yes, he is now. Just coming back down the pit lane. And that was Jake Sturgis, I believe. Yeah, Jake Sturgis has just gone past Narumi. Patella goes past him as well. Should just come out in and around Ben Cornett and the Simon Cattell battle.
Meanwhile, it looks like Christian Laurent is also going to come down on towards pit road to make his stop. He'll get himself 4 fresh tyres and he'll top up with race fuel as well. So onto his tracks for him. Looks like there's no issues coming in there. His last time by, he did it 1 minute 8.968 as he is going to be out and away. He's going to be right down the field, scored 1 lap down. Meanwhile, for Gregor Hutu now working himself on lap number 41. He's got that gap now over Martin Kroenke up to over 12 seconds in this race. Benito still running 3rd, Yakoda still running 4th, as Mogar Fido makes that journey now on towards pit road. Now, he was a driver who's struggling, seems to be quite a lot with his tyres in the last stages of this run, as Kotavara is in, but we'll hand it back over to Dan for Philo.
Yeah, Mogar Fido coming down towards pit road. There's a lot of activity actually at the moment. It's hard to tell which one to look at. There's one car that's just come past, and Mogar Fido now back down on the jacks. It's just going to be shortly going away. Is he going to get caught in traffic as he comes out? I don't think he's going to get caught in traffic as he comes out. There's no one else in pit lane. He's right near the bottom of the pit road, which actually has helped him quite well for Mogar Fido. Past goes Ben Cornett. It'd be interesting to see where he is in relation to the car that just pitted. In fact, he's not far behind that one. So that's a pit stop there for Mogar Fido.
And also Emil Spindel and Petro Kotavara, they came in together, they come back out together on the racetrack as well. Looks like Kotavara is a long way ahead of Spindel as they came
P2,
out of pit road, however. And Kroenke is onto pit road, so he is blinking before Gregor Hutu, so we'll keep an eye out. As Benito, this is the time now, I think the next lap or so we expect to see Hutu coming on towards pit road. But you see now, Kroenke is onto pit road in that number 6 Team MyFreD car. Enzo Benito also onto pit road. Hal Pino onto pit road as well. We'll keep an eye out to see whether any other drivers make that journey onto pit road this time by. It looks like no one is for the time being. But it looks as though that Pino is out of the pit box and Kroenke is out as well. So we'll see whether or not Hutu makes that journey onto pit road this time. He's working himself down into Lucky Heights once again, Lucky Heights even, as they work themselves now down into turn number 10 and 11. Shut up, Ben, as he comes down into turn number 10. Will Hutu pit from the race lead this time by with 42 laps in this race scored complete? And the answer is yes, he does. He comes down into pit road. Going to hand it back down to Ben one more time.
Ben or Dan?
Dan, we'll hand over to Dan.
Thank you. Yeah, Gregor Hutu coming down a pit lane. Also, it'd be quite interesting to see if Alexei Yakola pits as well, because he seems to have gone a lap longer than the ones he was racing with. But Gregor Hutu still not reached his pit box yet. As they come, he now reaches the pit box. Up he goes for Gregor Hutu, and Gregor Hutu should be retaining the lead because Max Delorco, as we know, has been stuck in traffic. So the Team Redline mechanics work their hardest, drop him down. That's Gregor Hutu out of the pits now. And where is Max Delorco in relation to Gregor Hutu? Max Delorco just coming down the front stretch now. I think Gregor Hutu will retake that lead. He has indeed. So Gregor Hutu in the lead from Max Delorco.
And it was about 6 seconds at the line there. So Delorco, he's going to have it all to do. And we still think that Delorco might have to come down onto pit road once again. And let's talk about this strategy once again. Because Ben, at that point in the race, that if he was on a 2-stop strategy, he came out into traffic. He would actually have been better if he actually just topped that car up with fuel and tried to go to a 1-stop strategy. I think that would have been his better bet.
I also agree. We've got a lot of cars in pit lane at the moment or who've just cycled through pit lane. I'm not sure if Dan grabbed names and numbers or not.
I haven't actually got any at the moment, sorry.
And we're actually thinking that Delorco might have pitted deliberately early, trying to lure other drivers onto pit road. Myself and Joni were just having a chat about this off air. But Meanwhile, it is still Gregor Hutu who is your race leader. We'll get confirmation of the full gap as they come past start-finish line. PJ Sturgis currently scored in the second position with Richie Stanaway in the third spot. Let's not forget that Richie Stanaway won the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing race back in autumn of last year. But Hutu's that gap over Max DeLorco, it's 3 seconds on the racetrack, and to say right now that Max DeLorco just did a 1 minute 8.435. DeLorco is still charging, and ever since he got himself through that traffic, it's been 1 minute 8, mid 1 minute 8 all along, and in fact his last 5 laps have pretty much been within 0.2 of a second, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at the review, the pit lane entry here. Alexei Yakola is out. He crashed on pit entry on lap 42. So a disappointing end of the day for Alexei.
Yeah, so replay up on your screen momentarily there for Alexei Yakola, and we've talked about how dangerous pit road can be. It's a very fast pit entry there from, and it looks like Alexei Yakola is the one and only driver really to have issues so far on pit road. And it looks as though, actually, from my angle, he just went straight on. He locked those brakes up, slammed it into the wall, and he is out now of the race. So disappointment there for Alexei Yakola. His race has been up and down since the light went out to start this race. But now, it looks like PJ Sturgis is coming onto pit road, and Richie Stanaway onto pit road as well. Dan, very quickly.
Yeah, I got Richie Stanaway and PJ Sturgis, and PJ Sturgis has got a bit of advantage there. He's come out before Richie Stanaway by quite a bit as well. So PJ Sturgis, one of the drivers who's managed to maintain this fuel and keep it there, means he's got a shorter pit stop. But it's interesting to see just how much shorter it was in the Stanaway's. I think it was quite a bit shorter, but PJ Sturgis is now back on the track.
Yeah, and that gap between Richie Stanaway and PJ Sturgis is about 4 seconds on the racetrack. We'll get confirmation of it momentarily. It's actually 3 seconds, 3.1 seconds between 9th place driver PJ Sturgis and Richie Stanaway. He rounds out your top 10. However, the gap between Max DeLorco and Gregor Hutu already down to 2.1 seconds. That last lap, it looks like he's going to take half a second once again out of that lead that Gregor Hutu has, Ben.
Yeah, DeLorco is flying. And as they come across the line, DeLorco an 8.34.02, Hutu an 8.9. It was 5/10 that lap. He's going to catch him in a series of laps. In the next 5 laps, we're going to have a cracking race on our hands.
We're going to have a cracking race on our hands once again. Of course, Paul, only if DeLorco only has to make, doesn't have to make another pit stop.
Well, and this is where it becomes very important for DeLorco not only to get past Hutu, but to make a significant amount of ground on Hutu, because it's apparent that DeLorco did short fuel, so I think he is on a 2-stop strategy. Vice Hutu, so he's on a 1-stop strategy. He has the fuel to make it to the end of the race. So it remains to be seen, not only can DeLorco catch Hutu, but he's also got to make significant ground on him if he has any hope at all of winning this. But I think that the 1-stop strategy might have been the right call on Hutu's part.
Indeed, and we are thinking still that DeLorco might have just made that journey on pit road early. He might have had enough fuel to get to the end anyway. He just wanted to coax those drivers onto pit road early. As they come past start finish line, it looks like this time it's only going to be 0.3 of a second that he gains over Gregor Hutu. Hutu does a 1 minute 8.853 and gets a bit of a draft down the start finish line as well. DeLorco does a 1 minute 8.555, and in fact he lost a 10th of a second there on that start finish straight as Hutu was able to get a draft, and right now he's trying to put a lap, and he does now put a lap on Christian Laurent, who is running down in the 22nd position. So we still have 21 cars scored on the lead lap in this race, and David Corps and Iker Hapala still haven't pitted in this race. We're going to show yourself a replay of the start once these two drivers have. We just don't want to miss their pits up. But to run through your top 10 right now, it is Gregor Hutu leading the way. The gap is 1.6 seconds on the racetrack between himself and Max DeLorco. David Corps hasn't pitted, running in 3rd. Iker Hapala hasn't pitted, running in 4th. Martin Conke has pitted, running in the 5th position, so he'll likely be 3rd overall once these pit stops have sorted themselves out. Enzo Benito in 6th, Giuliano Rumi in 7th, Mo Garfido in 8th, PJ Sturgis in 9th, and then Richie Stanaway rounds out your top 10. Don't forget, keep in contact with us on Twitter all race long. Use the hashtag iRacingWCS, alternatively GlacierTV. We want to know, can Max DeLorco do it? Can dreams come true? Can Max DeLorco go to Victory Road and cause the heartbreak for Gregor Hutu once again here at Phillip Island as Hiccup Harlan comes in there.
Yeah, the Team Orion driver comes into the pits. He's made his fuel last for 47 laps, so very good effort for Milko Hapala. He was in a big battle of cars before the pit cycle started, so it'd be interesting to see if how much the late pit stop has actually made it better for him. PJ Sturgis I see just going past now, so that puts him from behind. Like Stanaway and Tamala gone past. Jason Levitt goes past, so I think he'll be about 12th, 13th position and coming round about the. He's just come out in front of it's either Spindel or Cochavara. I think he's come out in front of Cochavara, so that's P12 for Ilka Hapala.
Ilka Hapala there makes his pit stop. That means we're just one car who hasn't pitted yet in this race, David Korps. He's still running in the 3rd position on the racetrack right now. That gap between Max Lorca and Gregor Hutu, it swings and ebbs, and I think that Hutu is pushing it as David Korps comes in, so the last guy there to make his pit stop. He's slamming on the brakes there, down to 45 miles an hour. And this is one of those things as well, that did allude to it when the Lorca made his pit stop. He did lose a little bit of time as he came onto pit road. He locked that right front tyre up a little bit. Had to be careful not to do your coda and get it onto the grass and hit that wall. And he actually lost 14 miles an hour on pit entry there as he had to do that. Meanwhile, for David Korps, he is out and away. And let's see where he falls in. Currently scoring him down in the 8th position, but that is going to go down as all these drivers swarm past him. He's now back up to speed, but he's still got to get himself back onto the racetrack. And for David Korps, he's going to come out in the 8th position on the racetrack. And the question is, right now, Paul, we've been talking about it all race long. Can Del Orco do it?
I just don't think he's got the fuel. I think he's on a 2-stop strategy, and this is what's going to really do him in. Just so much ground to make up at this point. And I just, unless my calculations are right wrong, but it does just seem like he's been in too short of a time to have taken a full load of fuel on the time he stopped. But I've seen stranger things happen. But I think that all Hutu has to do is just run clean laps, and this is going to be his.
Meanwhile, Joni Tamala is able to get past Richie Stanaway there, so Tamala moves himself now up into the 9th position on the racetrack, and now down to the inside. That will be Jason Lovatt coming to take Stanaway out of the top 10, Ben.
So, quickly, let's just go through the commentary booth here, and let's see who thinks that Max can make it. Joni?
Sorry, I need to say that again, but I don't know. I think the Lorca can do it. I think he can get himself. I think he's got enough fuel.
I certainly do. What do you think? And Paul?
I've got my doubts. If he does, this is going to be a great showing. I hope he does. I really do hope he does, because I mean, Max Del Orco has driven the race of his life, and if he really does have the gas to make it, I'm just going to be impressed by the drive. He's got Hutu handily dealt with in terms of speed. And in fact, he's all over him now like a cheap suit. So I think in the next couple of turns here, we're going to see him try and make a pass.
Joni, be very quick, because I think he's going to make a move down into turn 4. But do you think he's got enough fuel?
Yeah, I think so, because looking at the lap pit times, his pit time is identical to the guys that done the one stop, and here he goes.
Here he comes once again, down to case started Ben. Max Del Orco back to the race lead here at Phillip Island in the number 52 car, able to clear Hutu before he got himself down into turn number 4. So Del Orco, for the 2nd time in this race here today, passes the number 1 machine of Gregor Hutu. Will the heartbreak of this track continue for Gregor Hutu? We have got less than 20 laps to find out here in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, round number 5 from Phillip Island. Will Vincent, Ben Rothberg, Paul Jenkins and Dan Blake in the booth. Very quickly, we would like to say a very big shout out to a couple of people. First, to Team Redline for World Championship Tipping. For more information, go to teamredline.co.uk/tipping. Also to iRacing.com, purveyors of the world's most realistic racing simulator. For more information, find out how you can get a discount on your first month membership, go to iRacing.com. And also to our good friends at ETV Live as well. For all of your over racing needs, why don't head over to etv-eplay.net. Meanwhile, on the racetrack, that gap between Del Orco and Hutu already up to 6 tenths of a second on the racetrack, and he's still got Kroenke. And let's talk about Kroenke very quickly, Ben. He's had one of those races once again where he's been in kind of no man's land all race long.
It happened last week. maybe Kroenke, he's got the pace to be up the front, but he just can't get there. He can't just breach that gap to get to the front. Max DeLorco, this is just drive of the day. I think he's got enough fuel. I think he's done the reverse strategy of what everyone else has done. He's gone short, and then he's pitted. It's the same pit time as Joni said, and now he's doing the long haul. Gregor did the long haul first.
DeLorco's in. DeLorco from the race lead onto pit road. So
that's awkward.
All of that. And so he's onto pit road. He's going to make his second pit stop of the day with less than 20 laps to go. And Iana Matikainen was saying if he was able to make it to the end, we could kill him. So thankfully, Matikainen stays alive. However, DeLorco, he's going to get himself 4 fresh tyres. He's going to top up with gas as well. Heartbreak for some of the fans in the stands here. And he's still probably going to be all the fan drivers of the day. He's probably going to come out in about the 4th or 5th position on the racetrack. In fact, we'll get confirmation he's going to come out in the 4th spot, we believe. As Judan Arumi is going to move himself up into 5th. So yes, he'll come back up into 4th. He's going to be 23 seconds behind Gregor Houtu. But still, you have to say, Paul, what a drive.
Absolutely a great drive by Max. Just the strategy didn't work out for him. But again, race isn't over. 4th place, and we've seen the speed that DeLorco has. So chances of catching second place Kroenke, not out of reason. But I mean, I think Houtu might be out of reach. But again, anything can happen. Houtu could make a mistake. I know that's sacrilege, but hey.
It is, but you know, this is the track that Houtu's never won at, and it's one of those things. You know?
DeLorco almost spins it. Whoa!
Oh God, that was close.
He was coming out of doing corner, I believe that was, and almost lost the car on those cold tires. Oh, I'm sorry, he was up over Lucky Heights.
I've done that so often down at Lucky Heights there, turn number 9 on the racetrack, and he's trying to catch up to the rear of Enzo Benito. He's about half a straightaway ahead of him. But meanwhile, let's check in on Jason Lovett, because a lap ago he almost ran into the rear of Joni Tamano. Those two are battling for 9th position on the racetrack, and for Lovett, he was able to get himself past Richard Stanaway, as was Joni Tamano. They both passed him in the course of 1 lap. There's a little bit of smoke that kicked out in turn number 2, a little bit of dust even, but Joni Tamano there now having to hope that Lovett doesn't get a good run down in turn 3 and 4. In fact, he doesn't this time by. Lovett is always one of the fastest people in a straight line. It's always difficult to comprehend how he gets that. When all these drivers run very similar wing angles, they run very similar wicket as well. The fastest way to do it, there's literally one way of setting the car up for maximum straight speed, but Lovett always able to get another mile an hour or so out of the car. No idea why. But in fact, Joni Bäckman was saying in TeamSpeak they call him Draftet, and I think that's a pretty apt name for him. Don't forget, keep in contact on Twitter. Use hashtag iRacing WCS, alternatively also GlacierTV. Meanwhile, it is still Houtu leading the way to run through your top 10. Martin Kroenke running in the 2nd position, 16 seconds behind your race leader. Enzo Benito running in 3rd. 21 seconds behind your race leader. Max DeLorco running in the 4th position, 28 seconds behind your race leader. Judan Rumi in 5th, just about half a minute behind, and Mogo Afilo in 6th. PJ Sturgis in 7th, David Corps in 8th, Joni Tamano in 9th. Jason Lovett running out your top 10, and looking as though he's got himself a better run through turn number 2 this time, but not quite close enough to make that move. They work themselves down into Casey Stoner once again, and then down into turn number 4. And then to give you an update, we still have a total of 20 cars running on the lead lap. US retirees in order: Paul Ilbrink out at the very start of this race pretty much. Ati Kirchhoff out, Fulvio Marzoni out, Blake Townend out of the race, Stephen Michaels out of the race, as is Daniel Lopez, as is Dion Burgess, and Alexi Yakola as well. Andrew Borcher out of the race. Alexia Loma is running 4 laps down, but is circulating. And Hugo Louise, after the incident at the start of this race, is running 2 laps down in the 25th position on the racetrack, and there's not even really anyone for him left to overtake, because there's 4 cars scored 1 lap down here in the race. We have to say though, Ben, that this has pretty much had the highest attrition of all races in the series so far.
It's been a pretty race. It's been full on. I'm pretty amazed that Max didn't actually go to the end. It was actually quite awkward. I've got to apologise to everyone. I fed them the wrong data, and it was quite awkward, and someone yelled out, "Oh, he's pitting," when I was talking about it. But anyway, just want a quick shout out to Blake Copo, I hope I said that right, from Australia. He's staying up late. It's now 1:15 in the morning. So any other Australians keep staying up as well. It's pretty late, so...
I think it's pretty grouse that all your streams are staying up this late, but indeed, don't forget...
Yeah, it's grouse.
It is grouse, but don't forget you can also... as Marcus Caton, I'm not going to finish my sentence there, but Marcus Caton right now is trying to make the move on Emil Spindell. He will get the job done out of turn 4, but now you're going to have down into turn number 5, Emil Spindell. In fact, take this back. This is actually Jake Sturgis as they're battling on positions on the racetrack, but Spindell is going to have the run. They're still going to be side by side. Spindell and Caton as they want themselves 378 touch, and it looks there that Spindell's going to have to go all the way around this slow way. He's going to lose so much speed. Ben Cornet's not going to be able to get past him, but Martin Patella does, and that was as they were working side by side from turn number 7 on the racetrack, turn 8, and Marcus Caton, I'm just trying to have a look at that there, and it does look as though you have to argue there, Ben, that was a bit of a racing incident, because Caton was on the curve and came up a little bit, but you have to say, Spindell gave him no room there at all.
Yeah, it's a really high-speed corner there. They're both flat out into there, and I'm just watching the replay now, and there was enough room on the outside. I just think there's a bit of a racing incident between the two.
Meanwhile, Ika Hapala and Richard Stanaway there just losing a position, it looks like, to Petri Kotavara. So Kotavara now up into the 12th position. Stanaway carrying on going backwards, now down into the 13th position. Let's not forget that Stanaway had issues. He couldn't engage his clutch at the start of this race. He just had to hope that a car wouldn't stall at the start of this race, and he had to get going very slow speed, and that probably applied to him coming out of pit road as well. But Stanaway off pace right now in this race, losing a lot of position, as Ika Hapala looks as though he might be close in. In fact, Ika Hapala and Petri Kotavara has got past, but Richard Stanaway now is going to get the good run in that Team Redline car. They work themselves down into turn number 1 once again, and Kotavara on the outside line is going to have the inside line into turn 2 if Stanaway doesn't clear him, and Kotavara is going to be able to maintain that 12th position. Stanaway still running in the 13th spot on the racetrack. And also, having looked down up and down the field as well, we have to say that a good number of the drivers pool who are represented in the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing are having a standout performance here today. People like Max Delorco, who we've talked about so much, Endo Benito, Yuan Arumi, Mo Garfido, Davide Corps, Jason Lover, they are all running in the top 10 right now, as is Joni Tamala.
A lot of these guys showing why they're pros, and we're seeing some excellent racing here. This track is a bit unique in that it's such a fast course, but it requires such precision, especially with this car. But yeah, especially you know, a little further down the line, these guys, you don't usually. David DeCoeur with a good pit strategy has managed to hold on to this 8th position now. So a very good drive by him. Of course, Max Delorco starting. You know, down in the field in 12th, managed to make, you know, the speed he's showing is incredible. Still has purple for the lap or for the race at the 68. No, I don't know that right. I'm sorry. I don't have the information from me.
Carry on.
I'm sorry. Jake Sturgis says 68 108 142 was the fastest lap. So we're seeing some good speed from guys that we don't really see. But again, you know, as Dan is speaking in my ear here, level of competition. We saw this with the qualifying. The entire field covered by less than a second. So you know, we're looking at very much the best of the best here.
Indeed, yeah, and we'd like to give a shout out to Stanaway, of course. He will be racing next week in the World Endurance Championship. So shout out to him, good luck for him when he is racing in 1 week's time. I remember we talked to him before the Pro Series started, and he said it's very difficult during racing season to be able to balance racing in the World Championship Series and also at the time he was running in Formula Renault 3.5. This time, of course, running in the World Endurance Championship. But with 10 laps left to go, in fact, now less than 10 laps to go, Gregor Hutu has worked himself into Licky Heights once again. Turn number 9, now down into turn 10 once again. He's got himself a 17-second gap over Martin Conke. And you have to say, Ben, at points during this race, we did think that, once again, Hutu wouldn't be able to claim victory here. But in all reality, once it's said and done, he's actually got himself the biggest lead in WCS this year.
Hey, it's not over till the fat lady sings. We've still got 9 laps to go, and anything can happen. We've had a lot of server dropouts tonight. Unfortunately, Hugo Louis was one of those caught up in them, and I believe Stefan Michaels was also caught up. But you don't know. After an hour and 10 minutes of racing, something could happen unfortunate. I don't want it to, because Hutu deserves this win more than anyone. DeLorco also deserves a podium, but I don't think he's going to catch Benito quick enough. Cronky's just driving around pretty smooth, doing consistent time, so I think your podium, unless anything goes wrong, is going to stay Hutu, Cronky, Benito.
Indeed, and there might be a couple of drivers who will be a little bit light on fuel. But meanwhile, checking in on Jake Sturgis right now, and he is running himself in the 13th position. He's got himself a run on Petra Cotavara as they work themselves down into turn number 2. Cotavara is very good through turn 2. Sturgis a little bit less so, but in fact this time gets a good run as Sturgis kicks up a little bit of dust as they come out of the corner. Now Sturgis, they run themselves through turn number 3, down into turn 4. He's not going to be close enough to make the move. He does fake down to the inside, but not quite close enough. In fact, he goes side by side actually as they come out of 4. You're not going to be able to make the move really work through turn 5. We haven't seen anyone be able to make the outside line work in turn number 5 here today because it is so much longer. The track also goes uphill. But let's see if he's going to make the move once again as they come down into turn number 10. He's going to have to get himself a good run through Licking Heights, turn number 9, if he's going to indeed do so. Not going to be quite close enough though. He's stamping the brakes. In fact, he is going to go down to the inside. He's going to complete the pass, and that came out of nowhere, Paul.
Wow, what a risky maneuver by Jake, but he manages to pull it off. You get up on the top of that hill, the car unloads over the top of that hill, so it's very tricky braking trying to get over that hill, and Jake did a stellar job of keeping that car under him and making that move.
So, we've got 8 laps left to go to run through your top 10. Hutu, still your race leader. Cronky still in 2nd. Benito still in 3rd. Max DeLorco still in 4th. Yuda Rumi in 5th. Mogar Fila in 6th. Sturgis in 7th. And David Corpus in 8th. Joni Tamala in 9th. And Jason Lovett rounds out your top 10. Cotavara looks as though he's going to try and make a move back at the start of this lap on Jake Sturgis. And this is about for the 12th and 13th positions on the racetrack. Ahead of them, they are actually catching these two. Jasper Pedersen, Halpino, and Ika Hapana, who are running in 11th, 10th, 11th, and 12th positions on the racetrack.
No.
He's actually scored laps down, so I take that back. But
Pedersen as well.
He's also scored laps down, but they are catching this traffic, and also Ika Hapana. And it'll be interesting to see towards the end of the race whether any of these guys are going to run out of tyre. Joni Tamala and Jason Lovett as well. This is one battle that has been going on since the start of this race. And Jason Lovett looking as though he's trying to find a way past that My 3D driver of Joni Tamala in the latter stages of this race.
Oh, sorry.
And you alluded to the tire discussion. Of course, we know that Gregor made the early stop and DeLorco made the later stop. And so we'll remain to be seen. I think we're late enough in the race now. It's not going to be too much of a factor, but tire wear does make a bit of shows its ugly edge here if you go too long on these things. But again, in this particular case, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, at least up front. But for people like Sturgios or DeCorp, this could make a difference.
Indeed, it could make a difference later on. I don't think it's really going to affect the course of the race for many of these people. Hutu, of course, he did a very long first stint, so he knows how his tyre is going to handle all the way through this run. Martin Conke as well. He came in before Hutu, but I think at least these top 3 positions are secure for the time being. Max DeLorco just did a 1 minute 8.345 in this race, the second fastest lap he has done all race long. He is right now actually just set a little bit faster than Enzo Benito, but Benito really has picked up his pace in the latter stages of this race, Ben.
Time to watch Davy DeCorps and I believe it's PJ Sturgis as well. They are lapping a lot faster than Morgo Filo in P6 at the moment. PJ Sturgis was 0.3 quicker the last lap, and Davy was just about a second quicker. These guys are going to have a great three-way battle with 3 laps to go.
It's going to be an incredible battle, 3 laps even to go, and just for 5 laps to go, and just for all the people who are chatting on Twitter and on live stream about the iRacing logo, we can actually confirm it is actually Fernando Alonso who is in that picture. So yes, iRacing did even scan Fernando Alonso, showing how iRacing is the world's most realistic simulator. There's our plug for the day. But with 3 laps left to go, well, 5 laps left to go, I don't know why I'm saying that anymore, but 5 laps left to go in this race, and you've still got yourself some battles on the racetrack. And Sturgis, and Phillip, that is going to go right to the end of this race, because Sturgis right now is a little bit faster than Mogar Phillip. And let's not forget, in the latter stages of the first stint pool, Phillip's tyres did give up on him. I don't know if it's fatigue or what, but Phillip was slower in the second part of that first stint.
And we saw it in the last stint with his fuel, and he starts to fade towards the end of his run. And it looks like that might be happening to him again. He's starting to fade. So definitely in trouble for P6 here for Morgan. He's going to go on for dear life if he wants to hold on to that position.
Yudo Narumi is also catching Max DeLorco for 4th on older tyres. There may be a mistake by Max DeLorco on the last lap, but Yudo Narumi is starting to put in some good laps, being consistent in the low to mid 8s. So maybe another good battle for 4th, and some really good points for Yudo Narumi as well. We saw him in the Pro Series get a couple of wins here and there, and a lot of good points, and he qualified really well. He has got a fast car under him. Hope he can catch Max. It'll make a cracking race.
For Yudo Narumi, he actually set his fastest lap of the race on lap number 63. But having a look at Sturgis, he is very close now to the rear of Mogar Phillip in the 27 car. And Phillip, throughout the entirety of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing, was always the bridesmaid, was always that driver who could never quite get to victory lane. And here today, he's battling with PJ Sturgis, one of the old guard. As you see there, down to the inside, did go David Corbs as well. So this three-way battle is really going to go down towards the end of the race. And we saw this earlier on as well, Ben. If you go, say, if you pin on the outside line into turn number 5, and it's a very good chance in this battle, if Sturgis doesn't complete that pass in turn 4, he could actually lose out to David Corbs in turn 5.
That's what he's got to look for. Joni Tormala is actually really quick at the moment as well. He's also doing low 8s, so they've got to watch for him as well. If they make a mistake, he can sweep by, and they come down in 10th. And even this group here, Jason Lovett, Ilka Hapola, Jake Sturgis, are all close together. Patrick Codavara's not out of it either in 13th position. This is a great little battle going on here.
And guess what? We've got 3 laps left to go, Ben, so I can now say that as Sturgis once again taking a different line down into turn number 2. And let's see whether he can make that move. He has to get a good run at 2. This time it goes a little bit wide, and this is going to allow David De Corps to have a look down to the inside. They're going to be side by side as they work themselves. And you also see De Corps there getting a little bit of the draft from Mogar Phillip. So now it's going to be very close between these 3 drivers. Sturgis going to be back on the inside, doesn't complete the pass there. On De Corps is going to be pinned out to dry into turn number 5. So Sturgis loses the position, and now it's going to be David De Corps to see whether he can make the pass on the number 27 machine of Mogar Phillip. And with 2 laps left to go in this race, give you an update on the Narumi situation. He just set his fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 8.312. His car really does like fuel. Max DeLorco did a 1 minute 8.464 last time by. However, as he comes past the line once again, he does a 1 minute 8.150. His fastest lap of the race, reminding everyone how he has been a big factor in this race here today. But that battle continues with De Corps, Sturgis and Phillip, and it looks like for the time being, I don't know if De Corps has got the straight line speed to make that pass on Phillip.
Gregor Hutu, 107.911, the only car into the 07 territory at the moment. If that was in qualifying pace, that would have put him inside the top 15 in qualifying on race pace.
And this is why Gregor Hutu is one of the most famous sim racers in the world, as he starts his final lap here at Phillip Island. He's done 68 laps. This is his 69th and final. This is why Gregor Hutu is a 2-time World Championship Series champion. This is why he has won so many races. He's got cars battling for position ahead of him who are scored laps down. This is Ben Cornett and Simon Cattell. In fact, it looks like Cornett there is just going to lose out to Simon Cattell, so he will be classified as the last car on the lead lap. Meanwhile, for Hutu, he's working himself down into turn number 8 for the final time, up towards Licky Heights for the final time, turn number 9. Just a couple of corners left to go for Gregor Hutu. He will come out of turn number 10 into turn number 11 for the final time. And the driver from Finland, who has never won here at Phillip Island, finally gets to break his demon. Gregor Hutu wins at Phillip Island, and he takes victory by over 20 seconds over Martin Kroenke in this second position. Very quickly, to give you an update, it looks as though that battle between Philo de Corps and Sturgis, that is going to remain how it is on the final lap. It will take a huge effort from de Corps to make the move down into turn number 10. Indeed, he's nowhere near close enough to do so. Enzo Benito comes past the start finish line. He comes home in the third position, and then in fourth, perhaps drivers racer of the day. Ikahapara
down
is
at turn 10.
He will
No,
get past.
Jake was going up the inside.
To the inside. They touch.
Solid
Oh
contact.
my God, they're huge crash of those two drivers.
Oh no,
That
what a
was-
disaster.
And that was huge. And Jake Sturgis tried to go down to the very, very inside. He did have all four wheels on the racetrack. He didn't have any of those wheels on that inside line where you see the pit exit blend line is, pit entry blend line actually. But he went down, and you have to say that Ikahapara kind of almost turned in on him. We'll get ourselves a replay of that once everyone is past the start finish line. Sturgis does come past the start finish line, but comes home in, we believe, the 14th position. But the car's all grinding down onto pit road now. And we're going to take ourselves a deep breath as all these cars come past the start finish line. Ikahapara is classified as the last car on the lead lap, down in the 18th position. He drove his damaged car home there to avoid being scored one lap down. He would have lost even more positions. But to run through your final race results here from Phillip Island, and Gregor Hutu takes the victory in a time of 1 hour and 19 minutes 40.9 seconds, a 20-second gap over Martin Kroenke. Enzo Benito comes home in the third position. Max Delorco, who twice led this race here today, comes home in the fourth position when his two-stop strategy arguably worked for some, didn't work to get him, however, to the top step of the podium. Yuda Narumi comes home in the fifth position. Mogar Philo comes home in sixth. David de Corps comes home in 7th, PJ Sturgis in 8th, Yuna Tamara in 9th, Jason Lovett rounds out your top 10. Petru Kotavara 11th, Richie Stanaway comes home in the 12th position, Martin Patella 13th, Jake Sturgis 14th after being involved in that incident on the final lap of Ikahapara. Amos Bendal 15th, Simon Cattell in 16th, Ben Cornett in 17th, Ikahapara 18th, Marcus Catana in 19th, Hal Cordasso in 20th. The rest of the results up on your screen momentarily. And Paul, when all is said and done, Gregor Hutu finally gets that win at Phillip Island.
Well, a masterful drive by Gregor Hutu, and I think that if Max Delorco was not on the two-pit strategy, I think that I don't think he. Well, it remains to be seen whether he had the speed for Gregor or not. He put in an excellent drive, but I mean, we definitely see what Hutu's made of with this track, and you know, a very spirited drive. And Martin Kroenke in second, a great effort by him also.
So we're going to get very quickly a replay of what happened with Ikahapara and Jake Sturgis down on the final corner of the final lap of this race. And Ben, I think that Hapara came across him just, there wasn't any room down there. That was the whole thing. And Sturgis, he had a good run coming out of 10 and 11, and it, more than anything, it's a shame that these drivers lost out at the end of this race.
I do agree. After 69 laps, these guys, I thought personally, should have had a little bit more respect for each other. I called it down at MG corner, turn 9, as they come over Lukey Heights. Jake went down the inside as Ilka Hapala left the door open, and Jake was 2 or 3 car lengths back and did have a fair big dive, I do have to say. Hapala did leave the door open. They were running side by side. Jake did try the undercut. And yeah, I do think that there was room there, and Hapala just turned in on him, unfortunately. But that's racing.
That's racing indeed. And of course, your iRacing stewards probably will be taking a look at that incident after the race. However, we'll be right back after this short video explaining for all you people who've never seen iRacing before what you're missing out on. We'll be right back for the GlacierTV post-race show.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
Welcome back to the GlacierTV post-race show here from Phillip Island, and today Gregor Houtu finally extinguished his demons to win at a track that he has never won at previously in World Championship Series competition. Coming home in the second position is Martin Kroenke for Team My3ID. Enzo Benito coming home in the third position. Max Delorco in fourth. Yudan Rumi rounding out your top five. Before we go anywhere, however, we're going to have to say that this really does affect the championship standings, Paul, because of the fact that Hugo Louis had such a bad race with issues early on.
And of no fault by Hugo at all. Watching his race, once he got the car on the track, everything was very sorted with the car, and he was having a great race. Unfortunately, you know, with the electrical problems just before the grid, you know, this really does affect him. You know, but again, there are drop weeks here. So I believe, yeah, there are drop weeks here. So never. But yeah, it will make a big difference for Hugo, especially with Gregor making such great headway here. And Kroenke is going to be a benefactor of that also.
And you could argue, Ben, that he wasn't going to win here today, and that Houtu was always going to take the victory. But the important thing is, it is that drop week now, and he's going to have to think about the rest of the season completely differently. And Houtu will have the psychological advantage as the races progress and that championship standings, they continue to evolve. He will have that psychological advantage of being number one in the championship.
He doesn't just have the psychological advantage, he does have the advantage. Hugo Louis has been left out to dry due to internet issues and now has used his drop week, which he can't get back. Now, Gregor Houtu can finish anywhere above 25th and get more points than Hugo Louis wins the championship, even with his drop week. So, Gregor is in the prime position at the moment.
And we talk about how it, you know, the smallest of things can be the difference between becoming champion in the World Championship Series or coming home in second. And let's not forget that Gregor Houtu and Hugo Louis have won each of the 3 previous World Championship Series titles. And for Houtu, right now, he's in pole position, Paul, to go and get his 3rd title.
Absolutely. If he keeps putting on drives like this, absolutely he is. You know, we've shown, we've seen before, Gregor Houtu just keeps putting it on. So, you know, it remains to be seen. But again, you know, very early in the season, we see a lot of guys that are very much in contention. If not for Hugo Luis's issues, we'd be talking about maybe him being right behind Gregor. Would he have made the win? I don't know. I think Gregor had this race pretty much in hand. But you know, guys like Delorco just putting on a masterful show. If not for the strategy, I think we'd be looking at him on the podium.
And let's talk about that strategy, Ben, because I alluded to it in the race itself that perhaps once he got past Houtu, he would have been better to actually have just switched to a one-stop strategy and see where it went from there. Because at the end of the day, in reality, it would have only been, what, 4 seconds, 5 seconds difference on pit road compared to the extra stop, the extra 20-something seconds he had to making that second journey onto pit road.
I do agree with that, but the thing is, he probably wasn't thinking as that. Yes, he's got a crew chief and a spotter and whatnot, and they would have been working out fuel numbers and stuff, but he'd committed to a two-stop strategy, and it worked. He started 12th, and he finished 4th.
And like, very quickly, go on.
Sorry, you like what do you want better out of that? Yeah, a win would have been great, but 12th to 4th is a fantastic drive. I promise you, he's happy with that.
Oh, indeed, yeah, and I have to say once again, a very big shout out to all of the drivers from the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing who took all the way from 3rd down to about 10th position in the race, and that's a great showing by the Pro Series drivers. Saying, you know, you've got Hutun, you've got Louis up top, and you've got Kroenke out front as well. But on a day like this, when so many of the big players were eliminated earlier on, you take your destiny into your own hands. And for all of those drivers, Benito, Delorco, Narumi, Philo, De Corp, Sturgis, Tamada, Lover, they should be proud of themselves for what they've accomplished here today. Very quickly, we're going to hand it down to Paul, who's run down to pit road, and he is stood by with Petri Cotabara.
And Petri, a decent run for you, bringing home an 11th place for you. Bring us through the start of that race. What were you thinking with the gridding and the start? It looked like it was pretty crazy in the middle.
Hey everybody. Yeah, I made a really good start, and I thought I would go to 3 wide in the middle, going through the field, but then I saw something happening, like 3 wide going on in the front, and in my screen cars were touching each other, and I thought now they're gonna spin, but I had to lift there, but nothing happened really, so people just went by me.
And you also, I believe, the one-stop strategy. I think Max, the only person who went with the 2-stop strategy. Was there ever any doubt in your mind planning this race whether or not you want to do 1 or 2 stops?
Yeah, actually we were talking about that, and if I would have qualified like top 10 or something like that, it would be sure the 2-stopper, because I was much more comfortable with the 2-stopper fuel, and driving the tank with almost 100 kilos, it's the pain compared to 2-stopper.
And looking forward to the next round, any thoughts on trying to get yourself to the front?
Actually, I will miss the next round because I will be at Barcelona watching the F1. So,
okay, Patrick. Well,
yeah,
very good. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will be missing the Sebring.
Oh, that's disappointing. Well, we'll see you after that then. Excellent race by Petri, and Will, put it back to you.
Yeah, so we'll see you at Watkins Glen in 4 weeks. Well, I won't see you because I'll be in America. But I'll tell you what, a great drive there by the entire Ferrari Racing team here today in the 5th round of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Now, we're going to talk to a driver who hasn't had the day that he wanted, and that is Atsi Kirchhoff. And Atsi, you come home essentially 34th in the race here today. A tough race, and it all went wrong for you very early on as you're working yourself 2 wide down into turn number 4.
Yeah, that wasn't my luckiest day. I qualified quite well, better than I expected, because basically I only had 2 practice sessions before this race to prepare. And I was really happy with qualification, and I knew my race pace would have been really good. But I was extremely heavy in the race, and Fulvio was behind me, so there was no point on holding him up. So I gave all the room I could have, but he didn't notice I was still on the left side when he exited the corner, so he went wide on the exit of the corner. And yeah, basically we just touched, and once I saw him appear on my screen, it was simply too late. So I couldn't give more room to the left, and it's just bad luck. And next time I just should have brake and just give him all the room he needed, or actually defend. But I don't know, very disappointing, considering Hugo had very bad luck too with his disconnection. But if I could have finished this, it would have made a big impact on the championship standings, and right now it doesn't. So yeah, next time better.
Next time, of course, at Sebring, better, hopefully, indeed. But talk us through that start, because again, a good start by you. Getting yourself up to that 3rd position. Now, of course, if Barizoni got past, we would have had another, another conversation about you and Barizoni, who was faster. But do you think you had anything for Kroenke or for Hutu here today? Had that incident not have happened?
Oh yeah, definitely. My race pace was really good, and you know, in practice, I'll be always comparing the team, of course, on which fuel load are we driving, and what lap times are we doing. And my lap times were pretty competitive compared to Gregor. Of course, he was a little bit quicker in practice too. So I didn't expect to hold up with him, but I believe I was 10 laps more heavy than Fulvio in this race, and I think no, not 10 laps is a bit too much. I don't mind. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I could have been P2. That's pretty much it. Yes.
And in 2 weeks' time, we head over to the bumps of Sebring International Raceway, a track which has got 3 completely different sections of the racetrack. You know, you really got to get that car working, especially down into turn number 1, the final corner of the racetrack as well. Are you looking forward to making that trip back to America in 2 weeks' time?
Well, it's not the best Formula 1 track, I must say, but it's on the calendar. We need to deal with it, and hopefully in the future it can be replaced with a real F1 track. But I personally, even though it's completely impossible to drive with this car, I love it. It's such a technical track, and with the curbstones being so high in some sectors, I think this will play my advantage. And last year was a pretty excited race. This year I think I'm feeling very strong if I can prepare for this race like I should. So I think my target will be finding the time and preparation for the next race, and make sure I don't get in trouble.
Well, commiserations on today, 34th place. You do, however, stay third in the championship for the time being. Atsi Kirchhoff with a tough race here today. We'll see him in 2 weeks' time at Sebring. We're going to hand it over to Dan Blake, and he has stood by with Alexei Yakola.
Alexei, not the end of the race you would have expected. What happened when you tried to enter the pits? What went wrong for you?
Yeah, hi guys. Well, everything went better than expected today, really. I'm sick now, and I have a fever like 39 degrees before the race, so I took like 4 to 5 painkillers so I can race this, and I had not even a lap with race fuel before the race. First was on the warm-up session, so everything went really much better than I expected.
In those circumstances, it does sound like a gallant effort from you. You're racing hard in the bottom of the top 10 section of the race. Did you enjoy your racing today?
Yeah, it was really nice race because I got a pretty good goal. I was fourth, but I got really big fuel spin there, and I dropped it back to like 13th place. So after that I was thinking, oh yes, that was it. And then I saw that there was some mayhem on the top guys. So there was Atse and Hugo were out, and then I saw, wait, the P3 is not so far away yet. So I started to push again. I got past Keiton. He defended nicely and gave room. It was a nice racing by him. And after that I was catching Mogar and Enzo, and I saw how Mogar defended his position really hard against Enzo, so I catch them pretty fast. And then I was thinking, wait, Mogar is defending, and I remember what happened last year on the Pro Series. So I surprised him on the turn 2, so I got past him pretty quickly, and then I started to push because I know that Enzo was maybe little less fuel than I have. So he went to the pits on lap 41 or 42, I can't remember. But then I have 1 lap left, and I saw that Krönke went to the pits too, so I pushed hard that lap, and well, pit entry was nice indeed.
Other than that, it seemed like you had a very good run. Looking forward, we got Sebring in 2 weeks' time. Is that a track that you enjoy racing at?
Well, of course. Let's see if I can make more practice there and be in the better shape in the race day. But this race again to go back. But I think there was a really good chance to be second today and challenge Krönke there and got good points. But now I'm dropped back in the 11th, at points, and I think I need to push more on the rest of the season. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Alexi. Not the race you were hoping for, but good luck for Sebring.
And very quickly, we're going to run through the updated championship standings with 5 rounds now in the books in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. And Gregor Hutu has now pulled out to a substantial lead, 225 points over he has compared to Hugo Luis's 180. Don't forget, of course, these drivers do have drop weeks available. So Hugo Luis has got the chance to try and get back up the standings. However, that psychological mindset now is in the hands of Gregor Hutu. And of course, as Ben alluded to a little bit earlier on, he also now, Hugo Luis, cannot put a foot wrong for the rest of this season. Adi Kirchhoff in the 3rd position, Martin Kroenke in 4th, Jake Sturgis in 5th, Yudan Rumi in 6th, Fulvio Barazoni in 7th, Luke McLean in 8th, even though he didn't actually get the chance to race here today. Rhaegar Fila moves up into 9th and Enzo Benito in the 10th position. However, to run through the rest of the field, you've got Alexei Usiakola in 11th, Ika Hapala in 12th, Martin Patella 13th, Max Alorco 14th, David Korps in 15th, Yorni Tamana 16th, Jason Lovett 17th, Petro Kotavara in 18th, Sam Catal 19th, and Marcus Caton. They round out your top 20. And unfortunately, that is now all we have time for in the 5th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Marius Gonenbeck will be back with us in 2 weeks' time. He's currently driving a pace car around the Nordschleife. I knew you were going to say that. But, of course, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time, same time, same place, for the 6th round of the iRacing.com WCS from Sebring International Raceway. Very quickly, we would like to say a final thank you to a number of people. First of all, to Team Redline for World Championship Tipping, brought to you by Team Redline. For more information, go to teamredline.co.uk/tipping. Also to ET Live, purveyors of a number of good oval broadcasts for racing. Go to etv-eplay.net for more information. And also would like to say a very big shout out to all people at iRacing, to Tony Gardner, to Shannon Whitmore, also to Sean Siff, to Jamie, everyone over at that team. So a very big thank you to everyone over at iRacing. And from us, it's time to say goodbye. From myself, Will Vincent, from Dan Blake, from Ben Rothberg, and from Paul Jenkins. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 to the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing